Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with my friend, Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Very well indeed, thank you. I really enjoyed that hockey game a lot.
Oh, yeah, wasn't that it? That was a fantastic game. 3-0 win by the Edmonton Oilers. It was a weird combination, Bruce, of both fire wagon hockey and an old timey goalies duel. It had both things, and it was could have ended up at 1-0. It was heading in that direction before Edmonton pulled away in the third period. As I said, 14. I think I said 14 grade A chances for the Oilers, 13 grade A chances for the Vancouver Canucks. So a very close game. Huge win. Another one for the Oilers. What are they? 11 wins in the last 13 games. Is that what it
Yes.
is? They are now 13 wins and 8 losses. Bruce, this has been a good team all year. It's now being rewarded for its strong efforts. It's winning a few close games, and we'll move right into our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. But because it's a win, we're going to go with two good things each. What would you say is your first good thing?
Yeah, I'd have a lot of good things if you let me have more, but I'm just going to take a
We'll
couple of
slip them
big
in.
one, couple of big ones. I got to go with Mike Smith, man. He's playing with real assurance and he's tracking the puck well. And he was in the first two periods of this game, he was big and literally big in the net. And when Vancouver snipers got their looks at the net, um, Smith was filling the top corners with his shoulders and, the bottom corners with skates and nothing was going through the middle of him and nothing went through him at all the entire game. And some super saves. Not too many panic emergencies. I didn't think his puck handling was as sharp as we've seen in other games, but nothing costly. Just there was a couple of sort of whoa kind of passes, but they got away with them, or he got one that he coughed up around the boards. He got back to the net in time to make an easy save. And there was a lot of traffic in front of him.
Yeah,
And there
wasn't
was
there?
two or three times during the game where it was just a shooting gallery where Edmonton couldn't get it out and Vancouver kept hammering away. And I think they probably missed the net more than Edmonton. And yes, they did with 16 missed shots to 7. Now that I look, heard a few thudding off the end boards, but uh, they were trying to fire from everywhere and they just weren't getting through. And I think the old netminder deserves a little bit of credit in this town.
And yeah, you deserve some credit for standing up for the signing when it was initially made. Bruce, the one of the few people who did uh,
I
tried to at
didn't
least.
hate it, which put me like in the second percentile. Or is it the
When they
99th?
said he was
Anyway, it
starting,
was.
when they said he was starting tonight, I was a little bit, honestly, if he had had a bad
Yep.
game, I would have probably been criticizing the coach for it because I thought
My
I was
friend, oh,
I
sorry.
was expecting Koskinen.
My friend Mo on Twitter was talking about it this afternoon and says, well, if we get the 2 points, I'll shut my pie hole. So after the game was over, I responded only then and said, how about 2 points and a shutout?
You know, Smith, Bruce, 13 grade A shots against. Usually that's going to yield up about 3 or 4 goals. But in this game, it could have been like half of them were of the five alarm variety. These were the like 33% plus scoring chance shots. You know, uh, Elias Pettersson firing his absolutely wicked one timer shots on net. And then there was one sequence in the second period where Connor McDavid got deked by Travis Hamonic coming in off the point, and Hamonic got a dangerous shot. And then there was two
Two re-
rebound shots right away
Mhm.
that Smith stoned. But the biggest save of all was the first save of the game, Bruce. That breakaway save was
Mhm.
on the shorthanded breakaway save. Smith just came up. That's so huge in that moment. when it could go either way. And we've seen how quickly it can go either way with goalies in past years. Where the that season Talbot, for instance, let in so many first shots, but for Smith to make that save was just that had me thinking,
Well,
okay, I'm wrong. They should have started Mike Smith and not Mikko Koskinen, and I shut my pie hole.
they were talking about Vancouver's record scoring first and not scoring first. You think, well, he scored early in the first period. There's a whole lot of game left. But the fact is, Vancouver was 0-11 in games where the bad guys, from their perspective, had scored first. And of course, now it's 0-12 because Edmonton eventually scored first tonight. But Mike Smith gave him the chance to score first by keeping that scoreboard locked at 0-0, as did Demko. There was some great goaltending at both ends. That was a high-end game of goaltending, I thought.
Vancouver lacks, they got some nasty forwards, Bruce, but they lack that defense, the couple shutdown defensemen who can really play the game this year. They don't have that Adam Larson type of player on their team, or Wild Bill Lagesson or Darnell Nurse.
I don't have that Chris Tanev type player.
Yeah. I'll shift to segue that to Darnell Nurse as my good thing, Bruce. I just thought he had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw Doug Harvey play, but from what I've read of Doug Harvey, just playing such a smart, casual game, self-assured, calm, getting the puck, moving the puck, taking guys out of the play, always covering the guys in the defensive slot, never leaving the defensive slot open. That was Darnell Nurse that game. That was a Doug Harvey game. And he not only looked like a top pairing defenseman, of like everyone's like the word on the street in Edmonton now as well. Darnell Nurse, we've all agreed most of us agree he's a top pairing defenseman. Well, Bruce, he looked like a number one. He looked like a real, honest to goodness number one NHL defenseman. And he's looked like that for the last couple of weeks. And if he can keep this up, he's going to earn a huge amount of money on his next contract, and deservedly so.
Keyword earn. I mean, if you play like this, then you should get rewarded for it. I mean, I don't know something's flicked the switch in the guy, Dave, because he's when he gets the puck now, it's like a different guy. It was like before he would do something, try and do something quick, move it along, or rifle it out, or grab it and go with it, skate himself into trouble, and he's gotten the puck and he's assessing. I mean, Steve Tambolini would love it. He's
Bruce. Boys, man.
Yeah, but I mean, he's getting it, and he's sort of saying, "I got half a second. I'm going to use it." And he looks up, and there's a guy open. I'll just guide the puck over, and he can walk it out. I mean, that happened a few times in this game where he shut down some cycle or other, and then made a good play with the puck.
So there's that, and there's his just his defensive calm. Like, he's not chasing the play everywhere in the defensive zone. He's covering the defensive slot. Such a key thing for players to learn is, like, almost everything bad is going to happen, not on the boards, not out of the blue line, not in the corner. It's going to happen in the defensive slot in front of that goalie. You've got to cover that off. And when they really get that through their heads, as Darnell Nurse seems to have got that through his head this year, really good things defensively start to happen. And good for him. What is your second good thing, Bruce?
Well, Mike Smith was the first two periods. The third period, it was the entire Edmonton Oilers hockey club. They played a fantastic third period. It hardly could be better. Man, that was like early in the third period, and I'm going, 1-0, it's looking safe. Like they had the puck all the time. They were covering off. They were winning the battles. They were making the good, safe, short passes. They were walking out of their own zone. They were getting it deep, and then they were keeping it deep. Man, they were just forechecking the crap out of Vancouver. For that Khaira, Archibald, Ennis line had 2 or 3 great shifts where the puck was like behind the icing line for like 70% of the time. And every once in a while, they'd cycle it out to the point, and the point man would cycle it over to the other point. He'd shoot it into the other corner, and away they'd go again. And in the third period, this is a game where Vancouver had 28 shots through 2 periods, and they were the trailing team, and they started the third period on the power play, which was, Edmonton started on the kill, which wasn't good, but they got a great kill, and from then on, it was just downhill. They were in command, and once they got the second goal on the second power play goal of the game for them, which was the difference in the end, it was Vancouver was done at that point, but it was. I just thought this. You can hardly play better with the lead than than the way Edmonton did. 13 shots to 4, and we had grade A scoring chance in the third period, nursing a 1-0 lead. 4 for Edmonton, 0 for Vancouver.
0.
Which
Indeed.
is why Mike Smith gets a 9 and not a 10, I guess, in your grades tonight. He kind of had the third period off.
He did.
So he
So
just
if
had
he
to
had,
be outstanding tonight. He didn't have to save the game at
yeah,
the death or anything.
we often get a little bit of heat, Bruce, when a goalie has a shutout and makes some really great saves and we don't give him a 10. But I kind of save the 10 for like those 45, 50, 55 shot games where it's a shutout. And as you say, Smith was in 2 periods, he was headed for a 10, but then he didn't have one troubling shot, really, overly troubling shot in the third
Right.
period. So I thought, well, this doesn't quite meet our definition of a transcendent game. It was a truly outstanding game, though, a brilliant game, and he got a 9.
Outstanding.
So
Outstanding is the word equivalent for the 9, and that I think that covers Smith quite nicely tonight.
Bruce, you mentioned the third line, the nitty gritty dirt line, as I call them, and nobody else does. Maybe it'll catch on, maybe it won't. There was another name that someone had that was pretty good. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Something about can't remember. Anyway, Bruce, my other good thing is Jujhar Khaira, and I was practicing that today. Someone sent us the someone sent us the pronunciation, the proper pronunciation one. I think his name is Steve Dillon. Can't remember.
You can hear the H. You can hear the H.
Khaira. Yeah.
I am Khaira.
Khaira.
I'm
And
still working
yeah,
on it.
I had a little session of practicing it. Bruce, I should have probably given him an 8 because I'm going to say just a great game from Jujhar Khaira. I'm going to just change it right now, Bruce, as we sit and we speak. Right now, I'm changing it from this. This is the kind of thing that can happen at the Cult of Hockey. You know, when a game grade is reviewed and it's found wanting, we can go on there and change it. Bruce, he's never looked even close to this good at the NHL level. This was how good he looked at the AHL level when he was a dominant AHL player. You play him in any situation, and he would do well. He's moving the puck well. He's moving his feet and skating well. He's hitting. He's defending well. He gets the puck in his own zone, and instead of coughing it up like he did regularly last year, he's making self-assured heads up plays, eyes up passes. What a remarkable turnaround for Mr. Khaira. And
for real, it's the same guy.
Yeah,
but he's bringing it. I mean, he had the one breakaway that got stopped, but he's getting rewarded with ice time. He got 16 and a half minutes tonight. 4:29 on the penalty kill, which was the most of any forward on the Oilers. In fact, it was the most of any Oiler period, because Chris Russell had 4:13 to lead the defense, and his work on the PK was really good. I mean, there were times when they were pinned in their own zone, but they didn't give away any sort of major chances by running around. And the play that really caught my attention, I'm sure yours as well, was on the penalty kill in the third period, when he jumped on a puck and had a chance to whip it down the ice right away. And he looked up and he realized there was only one guy on him that wasn't going to be able to cover him. And he coasted out into the center zone and he hung on to the puck and he took it all over to the right wing boards and he hung on to it some more. And then he almost beat two guys with an inside move. And only Elias Pettersson checked him. His stick just caught JJ's stick, or he would have been in. And then he still, went into the corner, pursued the puck, and he just killed about 20 seconds off of that penalty with that one long, almost what we used to call ragging the puck. You remember ragging the puck? You don't hear that term anymore, but it was one of those style of plays where he just held on to it.
I'm going to give you an Oilers Jeopardy question.
Okay.
On that play, Jujhar Khaira ragged the puck like...
Oh, that's a good one.
Which Oiler?
Yeah. Single Oiler?
Single Oiler. penalty
Okay,
killer.
I was thinking Mike Zook and B.J.
You need a
McDonald
clue?
back in the
You need a
WHA.
clue?
Well, yeah, you're going to tell me who you're thinking of. It's not a clue.
Bruce,
It's
who is Craig McTavish?
oh yes, okay, yeah, I'll buy that. He would really hound on that puck, and he'd go along the end wall and he'd do his stops and starts, right
Yeah.
and left. And he'd slam on the brakes and he'd go the other way. And he was so strong on the puck and on his feet they couldn't really do anything about it. So this wasn't quite that, but it was basically a meandering trip all the way up the ice, always going in the right direction. A lot of sort of east-west in the process, but taking the time as he did it and allowing the full line change behind him because he was in control. Love it.
I think if the Canucks or the Leafs or the Flames had picked up Khaira on
Oh,
waivers
waivers.
and
Oh,
he was playing like this for them right now, we
oh,
would be
beside
we
ourselves.
but we wouldn't be because who could usually we're beside her because
Yeah,
like we'd be
well,
blaming Holland, right? Because you
yeah.
shouldn't have waived,
Oh, yeah.
but nobody said that at the time. No one
No,
said
but
it.
that
You
doesn't mean they
said,
wouldn't be if
okay,
he went on to play well somewhere else.
if you're
People have been
listening to
known
this
to change their
podcast,
opinion.
if you're listening to this podcast and you said at the time when he was waived, this was a terrible mistake by Holland, send me that tweet and we will make sure to read it out on the next podcast because I don't think anyone that I saw
That's fair.
make that tweet. So I'm anyway, but thank goodness that didn't happen.
Here's Kara's stats tonight, David. I mentioned his ice time. 3 shots on net. A couple of them were really good shots. 3 hits. I know he absolutely crunched some guy in the corner in the early going of the game. He went in like a missile and just hammered the guy into the end wall. And 5 and 3 for 63% on the face-off dot, tied for best on the team. On a night, every Oiler center was over 50%.
Yeah, just a little bit. Each one of them would just
Yep.
little bit over 500 on the dot, which is really good. You know, Bruce, one of this team as compared to the team that was struggling at the start of the year, struggling to win, there's a couple of big differences, and one of them obviously is in net. It's Mike Smith's presence on the team, and it's been huge. He's been maybe the best goalie in the NHL in the last few weeks, arguably. But the other thing is the third and fourth line center positions with Khaira and Gaetan Haas
Mhm.
coming in. And Haas was strong on the PK. He didn't play much at even strength, but he was very strong on the PK as well. He made a few key
Three
plays.
notes.
So
Yep.
having those two guys instead of, the other players, um, wow, what a difference it makes. And with Dylan Holloway coming to the team, who's, killing it on the faceoff dot and crushing it as an attacker. Now we'll see. Maybe Holloway's gonna need a year in the AHL for all I know, but it's going to be interesting. It looks like they have good depth at center as well, so that's good. Bruce, what is your bad thing?
I'm going to just single out a little bit of a Fuster Cluck on the first Oilers power play when they allowed a clear-cut breakaway stretch pass behind Tyson Barrie, which Smith warded off. I do think he got a piece of the attempted deke. And then the rebound, the guy had a complete wide open net and he turned around, he spun around and he fired it wide. And within about 4 seconds, McDavid had basically a breakaway at the other end. But the breakdown beforehand, there were so few, like, I have very few complaints about this game. I was struggling hard to think of a bad thing. And other than Josh Archibald getting 2 minutes for getting thrown into the goalie. The only other one I could think of was the PP getting burned on that one. Just a little bit sloppy, not really, outmanning them around the puck and not really covering that lane and boom. But as bad things go, I mean, there just weren't a lot of them in this game. So
There were not. And I also struggled to come up with a bad thing, and the best I could do was Dominic Cahoon, who had just a super quiet game, didn't have a shot on net, didn't make any contributions to a grade A chance for. Of course, he didn't make any major mistakes against either, so it's not like he had glaring mistakes. But he's been, I think he's been, I would say, passable on that line so far, Bruce. Passable, but not definitely a keeper on that line yet. And with Dylan Holloway coming, I mean, that's going to be major competition for him. because the way Holloway's scoring at the college level, I think it's more than 2 points a game. That's pretty
Yeah,
outstanding.
pretty close.
And he's a big, fast forechecking. The 1990 Oilers were greatly improved when Martin Jelena was given a prominent role, and maybe Dylan Holloway could be the Martin Jelena of this year's edition of the Oilers, because that second line isn't functioning at a high level, and it hasn't all year. Yamamoto's even strength point scoring is down significantly. The rate of scoring is down significantly. Draisaitl's getting about half the number of, if that, of grade 8 shots at even strength that he got last year. They've had some good results goals wise, but they've had good puck luck in that regard as well. And I think Cahoon, he's been okay, but he's got to step it up. He's got to find just one more level of his game. Maybe it's just in terms of hustle or confidence. It could be confidence that's lacking. We've seen that with players like Puljujarvi and with Khaira, right? Where the confidence is lacking, and suddenly they start to feel it and they get going. So anyway, Cahoon's got to step up a little bit more to earn his spot on that prominent spot on a very good team.
Yeah, well, he was quiet tonight. I mean, last game it was him that had 2 goals.
It is.
In a 4-3 Oilers win, and he's in that group of secondary scorers. I wrote about him today, and they've really been on an impressive roll. And in the 12 games now, 13 including the 0 points tonight, though he had 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points, with basically 0-0-0 time on the power play. I mean, he might have got a couple of shifts in garbage time some game, but I mean, he really has not. It's all even strength that he's been doing, and that's decent scoring. He's in the role on the team, and I always default, or most often default, to the dynasty team. Just where does the guy fit in the structure of the team? And his role on the second line on the wing is what Willie Lindstrom did, or what Mark Napier did for the Oilers in the mid-1980s, where he was the third best guy on the second line, but every couple of weeks, he would come up with a big goal when you needed it. So I'd like to see more, absolutely, but I don't hate this player. I only hated him that one time when he had that turnover against Winnipeg there, when he coughed up the winning goal a couple of weeks ago. I felt sorry for him. That was quite out of character for him. It just kind of went sideways. He's usually pretty safe, and he's quiet is kind of his, he's like the silent assassin a little bit.
Yeah,
it's kind of his calling card.
Yeah, he is a sound defensive player. He's usually in the right spot, and often he's covering in the defensive slot for Draisaitl. I wonder, remember there used to be that European thing where the wingers would cover in the defensive slot on European teams. I don't know why they did that, but they often, that was their style, and I just wonder if they have a little bit of that going, where it's understood that Cahoon will sometimes cover off the defensive slot on that line. Yeah, I don't have a major complaint with the player. I just thought he was kind of a little bit invisible tonight, and that's a little bit what we've seen, but some of that could just be a guy playing positional hockey and trying to fill in the gaps. Draisaitl had a great game tonight. I thought he was other than the one turnover, he made some absolutely fantastic passes throughout the game, and was in on the insurance goal by Puljujarvi. Bruce, with your insurance scoring, two more guys. You included Puljujarvi in the list of the non-elite scorers. That was, I thought, was the only thing that maybe he's bumped up to that higher level. But Chiasson and Puljujarvi got the goals tonight. This is a team, Bruce, with scoring depth, as you noted. That was a very interesting article.
The net front guy got both goals that mattered tonight was from Chiasson and then Puljujarvi, both cramming the front of the net and cleaning up the chances in close, and that's the only way they were able to beat Thatcher Demko tonight. They weren't able to beat him on a breakaway, but they were able to shovel a couple of power play shots from close range from the big rangy right-hand sticks.
Puljujarvi's had so many good games in a row, Bruce, that I've stopped. I was keeping count of how many. He needed to be consistent. That was my beef with him. 3 weeks ago. Well, every game since then he's had a good game. It's just one after another after another. He is playing, because we were talking about him in Finland, right? We had seen that kind of inconsistent play even then, but we are not seeing that inconsistent play anymore. And he's about to take it. I think he can take it to another level still. We haven't seen yet what he can fully do. And he's when he gets there, Bruce, wow. You better save money in your salary cap is all I'm saying.
Did you notice who happened to be sitting in the penalty box when Puljujarvi scored to put this game away?
The hideous little man, Antoine Roussel.
Antoine Roussel, the guy who punched him in the nose last game, got a 2-minute penalty and a $5,000 fine from the NHL. Well, tonight he got to take the skate of shame while the guy he punched celebrated a goal that turned the lights out. That's the way to do it. Way to go, Jesse. You don't need to punch him in the nose. You just need to score when he's in the box.
Very sweet.
Done
Very
deal.
sweet. It's the that was the old Russian strategy. Like, don't punch the guy, just score when Team Canada takes one of those asinine. When JP Parise hacks you, don't hack back. Just score on the power play. Bruce, what is your number?
I'm going to go with a little number 3, not the 3-0 win, but 3 blocked shots by one Caleb Jones, who took a lot of criticism, some of it from me, frankly, and others who were, we just monitor how the Oilers are getting beat when they do get beat. And he sat in the press box and apparently spent some time thinking about it, because tonight, man, he was one game rooster out there, as my friend Lowtide likes to say. Just in the battle, joined the battle, blocking the shots was part of it, but winning battles, getting pucks out. And they used him on the penalty kill. He was on the PK rotation, played 2 minutes, 27 seconds. So it's not like they're afraid to use him. And they had 5 penalty killers that they were using, and he was one of them. And he showed a lot of gumption in this game, I thought. And I think that's probably something the coaching staff is frankly looking for at this point, fairly or otherwise. I mean, you got to show in this league that you're not going to get pushed around and you're not going to back down. And he had the only play he made that I thought was, he beat the forecheck and he went through the center zone and he slowed down to look for his pass, and some guy zipped up from behind him and pickpocketed the puck off him. And you don't maybe have that second you think you got. And when you're skating away, the back checkers come hard in this league. So sometimes you have a second that you don't use, but that time he didn't have that second and he tried to use it and he got burned. But that's a pretty minor quibble for what I thought was another pretty good game from Caleb. And again, Oilers with Jones and Bouchard on the ice, about 8 minutes each at even strength. Shot attempts 8 for Edmonton, 4 for Vancouver. Like the puck was in the Canucks end of the ice when they were out there more than not, or moving in that direction.
They both pass so well and move around the puck in the offensive end so well that if they can get by defensively, like good things are going to happen on the ice, Bruce. The wealth of good defensemen on this Oilers team is astonishing. William Lagesson it can play in the NHL. He's an NHL hockey player. He's going to be in the NHL. He's not like Martin Brinson, like who's marginal, maybe in the NHL. I think Lagesson, he could have a 5-10 year career here in the NHL. And who else is out right now?
Well, Ethan Bear just came back tonight.
Bear came back there, the 70. That's right.
Test pretty well.
Yeah,
tonight.
And Jones was super solid, and it's a good position to be in because defensemen tend to get injured. So it's only a matter of time before one of them gets hurt. And they're well stocked to handle the loss right now of any defenseman on this team except for Darnell Nurse. That would be a very, very tall order to fill the role that he's filling on the team. But other than that,
interested to see how Tippett was going to handle the 7 defensemen tonight. You know what he did? He basically turned them into 8 defensemen, and he used Darnell Nurse twice in the 8 because Nurse had 2 partners. He played 9:51 at even strength with Ethan Bear, and he played 7:06 at even strength with Tyson Barrie. And all the other guys sort of played equal minutes with each other, right? Russell and Larson, Bouchard and Jones. But Darnell did that time on with 2 different partners. Plus, he played 4 minutes each on the power play and the penalty kill. He's just a horse out there.
And so, Bruce, my number is 4. That's the number of breakaway chances that the Edmonton Oilers had, and Thatcher Demko stopped every single one of them, starting with Connor McDavid early in the game, kind of a partial breakaway, but he was on his own in the end. Set in by a fine pass by Leon Draisaitl.
Mm-hmm. That was beauty.
We had a Tyler Ennis winning the puck and sending Jujhar Khaira in on a breakaway chance, another stop. We had Kyler Yamamoto stealing the puck, breakaway off the crossbar, and we had Leon Draisaitl stealing the puck breakaway, and a great shot, just a great deke.
The old Mark Messier opened him up and slipped it through the 5-hole on the backhand deke. And Demko came across with his knees together. That was some impressive net minding there. Usually the goaltender's got no choice really but to open up on a hard forehand to backhand by such a big man with a big shift as Draisaitl has. And he kept it together, and there was no hole. So more power to him. That was a good save.
I guess you could fault the chase on goal was just a really tough play. You could it was kind of off the post too, like off the post and in. Oh. You could fault him on the Puljujarvi goal, but Vancouver didn't score, so that goal didn't even matter in the end. Demko he was fantastic tonight, and he deserved better than the loss that he got and the lack of goal support from the Canucks. The Canucks and the Flames, Bruce. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to jinx. I'm a little bit superstitious. But those two teams don't look like the teams that they looked like last year at all to me. Winnipeg, the two teams that I'm scared of are the Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets. And the team I'm scared of the most is the Winnipeg Jets, if I'm completely honest. Yeah. It's not the Maple Leafs. I just think for somehow, whereas Vancouver and Calgary's defense is struggling, Winnipeg's no-name defense isn't. Mm-hmm. And those guys are tough defensive players who are really good defensive players. So, but Vancouver is strangely listless.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of pushback in the third tonight. They did play hard
They did.
Really, the first, the first part of both games, and Oilers gradually took control of both games. But they looked like a beaten club there down the stretch tonight, didn't they?
They sure did.
They're 8-14-2. They've already played 24 games, 2 more even than Edmonton. And I think they're bagged. Like, they played 24 days, and the season started 6 weeks ago yesterday. So 24 games in 44 days, and that's just not a lot of rest days. And I mean, obviously they got some coming, but it might be too late for them at the position they've got themselves in the standings.
What was the score in the Montreal game tonight?
I don't know. I know that Ottawa beat Calgary 6-1.
And
this made me smile for some reason. Rittich got
slammed his head against the boards or against the wall as he was leaving the ice, and a very
he's a bit of a hothead at times, eh? I mean, he's an emotional guy, and that powers him at some times and not at other times, I guess. So 6-1. Montreal 3, Winnipeg 6. So new coach got smoked in his debut.
Yeah, I just saw. Okay, I'm just calling up the standings here. Okay, so the Leafs have a .762 winning percentage at this point. Winnipeg 658, and the Oilers 636. Montreal 579. Calgary 476, Vancouver 375, and Ottawa 341. So
Ottawa's coming on.
There seems to be a little separation here, Bruce, with 3 teams at the top. And we'll see if Montreal or Calgary can make a move and kind of claw back into that top group, or if they're going to be the 2 teams battling it out for the 4th playoff spot. But man, Edmonton 5-game winning streak here, Bruce. This isn't with mirrors. This is a good Oilers team. This is a team that consistently outchances the other teams. And if they get equal goaltending, like they got tonight, they're going to win games, lots of them.
Well, they're plus 14 goal differential on the season now, and I remember after Game 10, after the first segment review, they were minus 6 at that time. So they're plus 20 in the last 12 games. I mean, obviously, when you're winning 10 out of the 12, that's by scoring more goals than the other team, but plus 20.
It's pretty good.
In a span like that is very impressive.
Who's up next? What do we got next?
Toronto.
Oh, my goodness.
3 in a row, all in Edmonton. Here we go. So,
and this is going to settle. This is going to go a long way in settling the MVP debate, because if one guy can come out far ahead in this series of games, it'll kind of set the narrative, and it's hard to break it once it gets going. So we'll see what happens. Bruce, Mike Smith in 7 games has a .944 save percentage. That's of goalies who have played more than 5 games in this year. That's the highest save percentage in the NHL. Marc-Andre Fleury is at .942. So we're seeing a version of Mike Smith that we regularly saw when he was with Phoenix. He's having a renaissance, second wind in his career.
He said he felt rejuvenated in the post game interview, and that seemed like a good word.
Sure.
And he seems very, very on top of it, and not in the net, but also in interviews and stuff. He's been on. He tackles them no problem. Very different from a lot of goalies. Not respect. I mean, how often you see a goalie do a post game? But he did tonight, and he had a second shutout to celebrate. So I guess he might as well do it. He was first star.
He could probably talk for like 10 hours if he wanted to. Alrighty, man. Well, Bruce, it's just been such a satisfying run. This has such a different feel than any kind of Oilers discussion we've had in the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. This feels like we're talking about a team that can really compete for the Stanley Cup. And I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier, Bruce. Especially because this is prime time for McDavid and Draisaitl. This is justice for them in terms of being on a team that can compete for the cup. And slowly but surely, some moves made by Peter Chiarelli, drafting those defensemen. Some of them by McTavish earlier on, and a lot of them by Ken Holland. The pieces of this team have been put together, and it's a high functioning team right now with 4 solid lines, 4 sets of defensemen who can play hockey, and the best goalie in the NHL.
Well, 944, that's the all-time record for save percentage in a season, held by one Jacques Plante, very late in his career. Jacques Plante, they went back, and they used to think that Hasek's 937 was the best, and then Brian Elliott got to 940, and that was the best. But what they did was they went back through old game sheets, and they filled in the shot save percentage from pre-1979 back into the, I think at least to the original 6, end of the original 6 first expansion. I'm not quite sure how far back it went, but Jacques Plante had 944, I think, when he was with Toronto or St. Louis right at the very end of his career, and that's actually the record. So Mike Smith is he's on that pace, man, and he's younger than Jacques Plante was at that time, so...
It's a funny stat because in some arenas I don't really trust the official scorers.
Yeah.
To get it right on shots on goal. I'm a little skeptical of Montreal, honestly. There was a game against the Oilers earlier this year where they were just missing shot after shot for the Oilers and giving shot after shot to the Habs. So maybe that's not correct, but that was my impression from that game. Bruce, let's leave it there. Thanks for talking.
Here we are. 1970-71 with Toronto. He played 40 games at age 42, and he stopped all but 73 of 1,297 shots.
Are there save percentage?
189 goals against average.
Are they listed on Hockey DB or
Hockey Reference has
Hockey Reference has that?
Yeah.
corrected.
Yeah.
I love that when they go back and do that with the
Yeah.
stats.
Yeah. And I think the NHL site does as well, but it's easier to find on Hockey Reference, I find. So anyway, that's the highest single season number ever.
I'm just
So,
looking at Ken Dryden's save percentages in the 70s with the Habs. Pretty good save percentages, Ken Dryden. He had an average save percentage of .922. Yeah, I went back and did the scoring chances on the Team Canada Russia 1972 series, and that was a lot of fun for me, which is the biggest hockey nerd thing I've probably ever said in my life. All right. Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.